Okay, so the best thing we have for an intro right now is, hey, it's Improv FAQ at length, longer conversations about improv topics that have a lot of questions surrounding them. Pete Jacokes. Hey, bud. Thanks for being here.
Hi, guys.
That was
or we
the
want to do
intro.
it like official?
That's the intro.
Do it
That's the intro.
cheesier. Do it cheesier.
Do it cheesier.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to
Hey,
FAQ Long Form.
This FAQ
my
ain't going to
douche- this
host
my
itself.
douchey.
I'm James.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Improv FAQ. This is a show where we talk about improv topics at length. Topics of improv that have a lot of questions surrounding them. And today we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine from Detroit. You know him, you love him. It's Pete Jacokes. Pete, say hi to the people.
Hi, people.
You got taller somehow during that intro. How does that work?
It's the douchiness of the chest puff out.
Oh,
Yeah, all right, everybody.
oh, that does work.
Strap yourself
Yeah.
in for...
I want some eggs.
We're going to get you.
This bubblegum lost its flavor.
So we're going to be talking about edits. And
I have a feeling you're going to be editing this very heavily.
so yeah, let's talk about edits. I think we can talk about the things that come to mind for me on the subject of edits. We can talk about editing as a skill because it's kind of like being tone deaf for some people. Some people really struggle with like the right moments to edit or just training that feeling. And we can also talk about how useful they can be in just the success of a show. I'm also thinking about different types of edits and things that are underutilized. I think there's a lot of really fun edits that could go into pretty much any type of show and don't get used a whole lot. Edits can also go a long way to just kind of theming or giving your show an aesthetic. If you are doing a form, they can just be really useful to shape a show and to stylize a show.
And depending on the style of edit, it can also be used to like boost the energy of the set.
Yeah. Pacing is huge, and edits and I don't know if this is kind of what you had in mind, Pete, but one of the things, different types of edits, editing at a peak or editing at a lull. It's easy, on a big laugh or applause, to be like, there it is, and then run for it. But sometimes a scene is just full of maybe it's full of tension that isn't getting like a sharp laugh or conclusion point. Or if the show isn't going that well or the scene isn't going that well, you can kind of take a lower energy point and seamlessly move on to the next thing without having it be like a run of shame in a sweep edit across the stage where you're just like, fuck, dude, sorry, guys. Here we go to the next one.
I'm always a fan of when the scene is bombing so bad and the person gets a laugh from the edit because everyone was like, yep, absolutely right.
Yep, we all saw that train wreck.
Yeah.
Oops.
I also saw, I think it was you two and Jen Hansen that it might have just been the three of you do a set called Robot Chicken. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, when we did all the edits?
Yeah, I think that your form or your goal.
What did we do?
You did a show called Robot Chicken.
Yep.
Okay.
And it seemed to me as an audience member, and then correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, that your goal was to pull out like every type of edit and scene and show
Correct.
element, and just go through the checklist from the top of the show to the bottom of the show. So there's a lot of crazy edits in that from you guys.
Oh God, I don't remember that at all.
I think we were kind of thrown together at the last minute. Like it was like a proving ground set or something. And they're like, we need a third group. And the three of us is like, let's do it. And then we were backstage and we are trying to discuss like, what am I gonna do? We don't want to just do a montage, just do something crazy. And I forgot who said it, but it was like, why don't we just do all the edits? And then we laughed,
Making our
agreed.
job.
But
Why does that
really
sound?
agree.
That sounds like most forms that I've come up with. Well, let's do this. Okay, yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, the what's your form? It's called Why Not?
Why
You say
not?
something and you go, why the fuck not, bro?
If this is a form, what else is a form? You know?
It's the story that Joe and Travis tell about how they wrote a sketch called "Because We Can."
What for? What?
It was for their high school sketch show, and they wrote a sketch. I think it was a sketch, but they called it "Because We Can" because they were so cocky. They were like, "Yeah, we're gonna just do this."
God.
So what's your form? It's called "Because We Can."
Yeah, it's called whatever we want. Step off. I want eggs.
Eggs.
Yeah. So okay. Well, what do you guys when you're teaching edits? I don't know if it's been a while since I've taught edits or worked with a group where that was.
Well, I could tell you, teaching stage managers how to edit. Be like, the more you do it, the more you'll see them. If it's a big laugh, that's a good light pull. If it's not working, if the set's not working and they're up at time, pull lights at the end of a complete sentence.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, the big laughs.
That's a great.
Let them finish their sentence and then just pull lights.
Your time's up.
Yeah. It's more of an hourglass edit than anything. But like that's interesting to me because like when we start, like advanced one, when people are introduced to long form, there's always that, on a big laugh, edit, do the sweep, get out there, go to the next one. And sometimes I think as they progress, they stick to that when the big laugh is sometimes the first interesting thing. So they're cutting their scenes short, and you have to unteach that thing that we taught them 2 semesters ago.
What I always do, especially for like first time long form students, is I'll do an exercise where I'll have 2 of them get up and do like a 10 to 15 minute scene, and I'll have the rest of the class sit there and write down every point that they think is an edit point. And then I'll end that scene and we'll go, all right, what were your edit points? Where did you see it would be a good place to edit? And like, some of them are the big laugh line. Some of them are like a clever way to do whatever, but it's like the exercise is to show the people who are doing the scene that there's always more to improvise. Like you can never be like, well, there's nothing left to do. But for the people who are taking notes, it's to show them that there are always multiple edit points. So the first big laugh doesn't have to be the way that you end that scene, because clearly there's going to be more down the road, just to give them that feeling of, I don't have to pull it on the first big laugh. And then, they traditionally forget that lesson completely and go right back to the big laugh. But
yeah.
I always thought that was like a helpful way to like show the different edit points and how like some people can see like there are multiple spots in the 15-minute scene where everybody noted that was a good point to edit. And then there's like smaller bits where like only 2 people saw it or only 1 person saw it, but like they're all valid edit points. I don't know why I'm moving my hand around a lot. It doesn't help anything, but I'm doing it. But to show them that everybody can see different points to edit, and just because you saw it, nobody else did, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. That it's still a valid, if you saw it as an ending, cool. And then on the other end of that, if you're doing a set and you do like you're doing a montage and you do a scene and somebody edits and you and your scene partner are like, fuck that, we had way more to do with those characters, you can always bring those back. So it's not like a terrible thing if it ends early, if you think it has legs.
Just about to say that. I also say then write it.
Yeah.
Just write it. If it's the scene's that great and you want to do it, fucking write it, asshole, and let's see where it goes. Man, Lily's really got me swearing this episode.
That's my influence. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So mean.
Well, I think that's great. It's definitely something that I try to emphasize if I am teaching edits, is that it can feel like there's a right one that you're looking for or a right spot, but there's a bunch of right spots. There's some that are earlier, medium or longer. And I feel like I would hope that that gives people more confidence of being like, okay, it can be at a bunch of different points. It's just when I choose to take, if you're going to go for it, jump on it and follow
Yeah.
through is the main thing. And kind of like pulling the lights, right? When you're like, if their time is up, give them a complete sentence, pull the lights.
Yeah.
Sometimes if a scene's either maybe
That's stripping it down to like bare bones.
But
Literally,
I'm also
at
thinking,
a period, pull it.
Yeah, that like if sometimes an edit doesn't feel like an edit until after you make the edit. Like sometimes the edit can get the laugh if it breaks tension in a fun way, and sometimes it can just feel. It's scary to edit when there isn't a laugh. Sometimes the edit gets laughed. Other times the laugh isn't really needed. Sometimes it's just like, cool, we're now just putting a button in it or putting a
but also like jump on it if you're going to edit. Yeah. One of the things that drives me nuts is like someone on the back line who like goes to do a clap edit and they're like,
oh, they do the edit dance.
Yeah, yeah,
oh.
Like they almost go, and then the whole audience is now watching that person and wondering what they're doing and completely ignore. Like, so you've done more damage to the scene that you thought needed editing than you actually did by instead of just editing it and ending it.
Yeah, that and the slow, like if someone's doing a sweep, but they're walking so slow, people think it's a walk.
You think they're entering?
Yeah. Like, how cool are you? Like, move your feet, man.
Yeah. So I mean, because there are so many right times to edit, the wrong time are there? You're like probably not in the middle of a sentence, probably not so early that we didn't even know what was going on. Probably like how do you point to some of like the wrong times?
You go, see what you did? That was bad.
You see a look on everyone's faces after you did
Do
that?
better.
You take them and you rub their nose in it. So that they learn for later.
I turn on the house lights. I make them sit with the audience and explain what they did and why it was the right choice. And if
individually to each person.
No, keep going. You do your scene. I'm going to do to you what you do to them. I'm going to show you how weird that feels.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about it.
But I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to do it. 10 years from now, kid, you're going to be doing a scene that you love. And I know where here comes
I'm going to go, stop.
And scene. I
mean, there's no like, it's basically just like you got to feel it out. So like, if there's information hanging in the air, like, or if somebody asks a question and then they edit, it's like, well, now we're all just wondering what the answer to that question is. But like, I mean, again, there's no wrong spot to edit. I mean, there are, not the best spots to edit, but no matter what, if you edit, you're playing it right. But yeah, it's like, did everybody else feel the energy in the room go to, when they did that edit? That's probably a bad time to do that.
Or, we were almost about to see the thing that you promised at the beginning of the show.
So, I mean, all of this is probably most applicable to scene ending edits, conclusive edits, or tags. Tags are probably a little bit more loose or fluid, right?
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing. Bobby, I've never thought of it as the edit dance.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's magnificent. If you...
That's fantastic.
I watch so much video of people editing, like during like the student shows. Like you see it. So when you speed up really fast, it's... you know what? I might do a supercut. I'm bored.
The edit dance.
Okay, what about edits? What about teaching edits like walk-ons or scene painting or edits that like affect the scene in progress?
Well, like walk-ons, my thing is always to the person, like, do you feel that it is benefiting the scene? that it is actually supporting your scene partners, or is it you got a funny idea? So if your walk-on is coming from a selfish place, that's bad. And if your walk-on is coming from a place of supporting your cast members, then that's the one that you do.
And
Yeah.
like the other thing, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
The other thing I would tag on to that is, can you accomplish the same thing with a walkthrough? If you're just trying to add information, if you're just trying to solidify the story or location or something, can you just do some object work that's not as distracting and just walk through?
Yeah.
So yeah. And again, a lot of this is about playing nice too.
Why do I feel like you're judging me and Bob?
No.
You're straight up
listen,
judging
listen.
that.
Yeah, the unedited dance was horrible.
Well, when you said that, because I was like, yeah, because it's not like when you enter a scene, you don't have a way out. Like people always are thinking of like scene entrances, but people are rarely thinking of like exit moments or.
Oh
or
yeah, like they like that feeling of once you're in the scene, you're locked. It's like, no, leave.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
But also, the reason I was laughing is because a lot of this etiquette is about playing nice in classes and in on teams where you're getting familiar with each other. But if I'm playing a set with friends or a team that I'm more familiar with, just the idea of walking on and having a good walk on and then trying to exit, but then like pretending the door is locked or something, and
Yeah.
also cracks me up. It's just like, there we go. Oh shit! How do I get out?
Or also like it's the not helpful improv bit of you're doing a scene and somebody goes to edit and you grab them. You're like, thank God you're here.
Yeah.
I love
like
that one.
Forcing them into like that's such horrible improv, but it's such a fun thing to do with like friends.
I don't think that's horrible improv at all, because that's a pure moment. Because if you get them right and you surprise them, that's the most organic thing you'll see on that stage. Like, now you gotta deal with it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. What are some fun edits that, like, what are some of your most favorite edits that don't get used enough, or you would love more opportunities to use? Do you guys like scene painting? Monstertage?
Monstertage.
Yeah,
if I'm that's my favorite thing it's a form. It's a goddamn form.
Just because you did it once on stage does not make it
I have made many people do it. So shame on you, Robert.
So
okay,
so
it's
a montage where you,
it's a montage where the edit is someone on the back line goes rah, and they're a monster, and then everybody else runs in terror of the monster until it organically they go back to the back line, and then there's people doing a new scene.
I do love that. I remember
it's my favorite thing, and I love watching audiences try to accept what's happening when they do it.
Yeah, you're really testing the disbelief there. The suspension.
Just this look for the whole edit.
So
and then the scenes.
But I mean, yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, we can talk seriously.
You do introduce that as like, we're going to do a monstertage. And even if you don't give it an explanation, the name kind of gives you a heads up or
yeah, but you have to give it a slight explanation, because if you don't, then the audience just looks at you like you're the craziest group of psychos.
Yeah.
See,
every scene is
that's why exactly why I wouldn't. That's exactly why I would. I just do it.
I love it. I'll do it forever.
So we were doing a show for a little bit with Dan Izzo called Gamatron, where we were doing a herald, and we would have menu options at the top of the show where I can't remember do you remember, Pete, what the
it was the
gym game, right?
No,
it wasn't a gym game. We were doing a herald.
We were doing a herald, and then we would give the audience we would ask them 3 questions. So we'd give them 3 options for each question. And it was how we would open the form, how we would open the herald, how we would edit, and then a third thing.
Something that would be in every scene.
Something like that.
A character or an object or an idea that would be in every scene. Or even a word. I think
here are your 3 options. Build a thing, speak a thing, dance a thing. And the build a thing would be like you'd start like almost onion peel, but without the different scenes. So it'd be like this person's doing an activity, and then this person joins, and then this person joins, and then this person joins, and then the edit would be kill a guy, hug a guy, something else. And if they picked kill a guy, smug a guy, and if they picked kill a guy, then every edit would be someone would come down with a gun and blow everybody away, and then we go into the next scene.
And then smug a guy would be somebody walking on and going, "Hey, nice scene."
Yeah. Real good stuff, guys.
Real nice work out there. Hey,
Go
you guys got the ace.
scene.
It's going well. But that's what made me think of it.
Real good scene, James.
We would make menu options out of like code names for edits, and so we had to come up with a bunch of options or ideas for edits that we would then turn into options for the audience. And I remember one of them, stuff like the monster montage edit, but I remember one of them would be like a slow clap.
Yep.
It's slow clap
until the whole audience was clapping.
I think it wasn't one of them like a high five. Is that a scene would end with like somebody in the scene high fiving somebody on the back line?
Yep.
Like give your own blow line and then put a hand up.
Yep. Yeah, call your shot. Yeah.
But I love messing around with that stuff, and I think that like there's playfulness and stylizing to it that gets underutilized. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think people are don't want to do little bells and whistle bullshit like that, or like why don't you see more of it?
Effort.
I agree. Yeah. Well, I see it going two ways. Like either effort, or there are people who think too much about the form and not enough about the scenes within the form. So it was like, oh man, we're gonna learn the herald, and we're gonna act like zombies in the beginning, and then we're gonna morph into this, and then at the end we all become angels and get suspended from the scene. It's gonna be fantastic.
But we keep it all inside. But it's like when I teach like creation of forms, like a lot of times the form, like in its initial form, like whoever's creating it, it's so structured and there's so many steps. Like I think that's what they think of when they think like creating, like you got to do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this, and not just, how do you like, I mean, James, when we did the Fast and the Furious form, and it was, okay, we could try this, we could try this. No, it's just every scene takes place in a car and the edit is who's in the driver's seat. Like we slimmed it down so that it's reusable. Whereas there's like when with some of the short form games we created, it's like, this is clearly a one-off. It works once and then it's never going to work again. Or if it works again, it's going to work in the exact same way and it's not great. So like there are a lot of times when they try to create new forms, it's so structured that there's only one outcome.
Yeah, so you need it to be versatile. Like you need the edit to be not distracting.
It needs to be reusable.
Yeah. Like the monster edit never gets old. But didn't Vulcan Hipsters
oh god.
Vulcan Hipsters used to do like a call and response edit, right? Bob? And you guys used to do so. Not always, but at some point, the edit that you guys would do would somebody would go Vulcan.
Hipster. Yeah, I forgot about. Yes, we did, James.
But so I guess it's like stuff like that is. I think it's cool. It's memorable to me. I remember coming to see shows and in a lineup of troops that are basically, for the most part, doing something close to a montage. It's like this little piece of spice that sets you guys apart. I think that slow clapping every end of a scene is probably not going to have as much staying power. And,
oh God, no! But it's funny in that one moment.
I disagree. I think it will hit, it'll stop hitting, and then it'll come back around, and then it'll catch on, baby.
That's Bob and I's style of humor. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's kind of funny. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's pretty good. Oh my God, they're still doing it. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
It hurts. I'll laugh.
But yeah, I don't know. I think
a montage is easier. So then it tends to, I mean, the amount of improv shows where it's, 3 groups doing a montage, like with Snow Day, it's a 26-hour improv marathon, and there's usually like 8 hours of it where it's montage.
Yeah. We actually came up with the rule, like, we don't put montages in the first like 4
So
hours.
we started asking for forms so that we could at least break it up.
Yeah. And well, but even if it is montage, though, two things. It can be a little bit more unique per show for the audience, but I feel like it's also fun if you're gonna do a show, and especially if you're like still on that on your learning curve where you're like, this thing's kind of hit or miss and it gives me an anxiety, but I'm in it to get better. Like, you might as well give yourself something in your edits to have fun with. Alex Marr and I, my original duo partner, when I was first starting to improvise, we were in a team of like 5 people that ended up whittling down to just me and him by the time we actually started doing shows. And we were like, when we rehearsed together, we were like, okay, coming up on our first show, let's just, or no, this is what it is. I think maybe it's worth kind of framing the full story, because our first show was shitty. It sucked, and it was miserable. It was bar prov for a show that we were hosting, and it just like dragged, and when we were sweating, and after it, we were like, that was terrible. And then I think the next day we had a show at Go Comedy, which is our first show on an improv stage, and so for us, first show, or the stakes were high, and having a really bomb set right before that made us really nervous. And so we were like, let's make sure that we're having fun. I think that's the most important thing. And we decided that we're gonna edit every scene the first time we get a laugh, no matter what.
Wow. No matter what.
No matter what, we're gonna edit on the first laugh. And the way we're gonna do it is that when if anybody laughs, we'll turn out to the audience and we'll take a bow. We'll just be like, oh, well, we're supposed to go on Saturday.
I have a feeling I was in the booth for that and probably thought, these smug motherfuckers.
But that made it fun for us, and it's like this little thing that just really broke the tension for us, and made even the in-between moments playful, and reminded us that we're there to have fun and not sweat it so much. So I don't know. I guess it's something that I would probably do more of if I had stuff to do over again. It's probably something that I recommend to people a lot if they're looking for a way to just like take some pressure off, whether you're in a rut or just in that learning curve.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I'd much rather watch that than the mistake that I see a lot of like beginning troops do, and go for the clap edit rather than editing. Like you can tell when someone just went through advanced 2, which is when they learn how to do the clap edits or the cut 2s. And man, it's cut 2 palooza.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you
tag
mean
outs.
Actually, this is maybe we can segue into this topic too, because when you say clap edit, Bob, are you talking about like the commando when to end a scene you're like,
no, I don't mind that.
Like
like
clap, freeze, cut
tag.
to the moon.
I meant tag at it. Yeah, like a tag out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Or cut to, let's take this, like what we're doing right now is not interesting enough. Let's change the location, or
gotcha. Okay.
go to that thing that we talked about.
Trigger happy with that.
Yeah, and it's usually a sign of people being uncomfortable and talking about events happening in the future. So show it, or just someone on the back line wanting to pimp the people in the scene. So I don't know. There's some times where it's really useful and it's fun, and you can go on this really cool run of a montage. And then sometimes it's just like, man, just let the scene happen.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, probably I have to imagine. Excuse me.
Thanks.
I have to imagine in the larger cities, this is probably more common just because of how much of a dogfight it is for stage time. But in New York, they're like you can barely get into a scene for
in New York.
3 sentences.
New York.
Yeah, you know, New York, we do walk-ons before 3 lines are over every single time. But walk-ons and tag-ins, you can't establish anything in a jam unless you're going to do it like very, very quickly. Like shows tend to be very tag and walk-on heavy. And I know that also
Especially
happens.
like jams, and when they're just you just got the new toy.
Yeah.
And you want to just play with that.
I don't know if it's always about that though, because it's like sometimes it's a mix of veteran players and not, and it's just like I don't know, the pressure to edit and to get the thing kick-started is just way too high in my for my taste and in my experience out here. And one of the differences though is that there's not a ton of long form jams in Detroit, and I'm sure it would happen more in Detroit if there were. If long form jams were more common, but you do see it in earlier troops that have that new toy. How do you guys feel about the difference between the clap tag edit and the seamless not using a clap? Because I think like there's pros and cons to both of them.
I use both, so I don't really see. I mean, it really depends on if the person I want to tag out or to lead the scene can see me. If they can see me, that's good enough.
I mean, they're both viable. I remember, oh God, who was it? It was a teacher who, like, when I first started learning about the seamless, just like walk on and take them to a new location, that any kind of clap edit is still showing the strings to the audience of how everything works.
Oh, okay.
So that if it's more organic, it still seems more mystical to an audience. Because without even speaking or without even showing your hand, you're taking someone to a different location. But those edits, I think, are for a more advanced group of people who've like worked together, because the clap edit is so used by everyone that if it's like if I'm playing with a group for the first time, I'm not going to throw in an organic walk-on edit unless that's like their style.
Yeah.
But if I'm playing with a newer group or like a group that's gotten thrown together, I'll definitely do clap edits because it's more, people notice it more. And if you walk on to take them somewhere else, they're like, oh yes, the butler is here now. Welcome.
Yeah.
And then you just get dirty looks.
So it's a language thing, the editing language.
Yeah. Because it gets really frustrated when you see someone try to do that non-clap one. You can see them like start orchestrating everything like you stay, no, not you stay, you go.
I love that.
I hate traffic hopping. It's annoying.
God. No, you get back here. And then like,
come on.
And then for
you
like
were
a second,
even looking at me when I started this.
There's no one on stage, and just some guys like running off to the side and grab somebody by the hand and pull them back, and then sit them down, and they're like, "Yes, so Your Honor."
Or when someone new grabs the person next to him and like, "You're in this now." Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah. That's probably where I draw the pros and cons most sharply for me is like, are you expending a lot of wasted energy to do what you want to do? I think with the clap edit, there's energy and punctuation to it, so it can actually be more efficient. Because going back to like coaching edits, one of the things I always say is that like it should have to do with what's been already established in the scene, and it should have to do with what's going on right now, ideally. So in order to get it to be about what's happening right now, given a clap to kind of pause things can be really helpful. And for the audience too, there's energy to it. It's this little click that you can't get like in a TV show when the scenery and characters clearly change.
Yeah,
you can't really do that as obviously in improv. So but if it does end up being, sometimes people are doing clap tags and they kind of like half-ass it, and they're like, and it's like, well, just go if you can do it that seamlessly, you might as well. if it's not adding anything.
Yeah, I completely agree.
What are there any other like stylistic things about edits that come to mind in this conversation for you guys? Like either for tricks
Not
you've been a part of
exactly
seeing?
what you're asking, but the one I rarely see is the walk off. Like, especially when it's like a 2-person scene, because I think that can be a very powerful move, especially like an argument scene. Like, fuck, walk off. Let that character deal with the relationship that they just damaged,
Yeah.
and have a really cool silent moment. So
Yeah.
I like when it's
Or
rare, but I like when it happens.
if you feel that the logical thing for your character to do is to exit the scene, then exit the scene. You're not going to help anybody if it's and one more thing.
Yeah.
And like just coming up with justifications for why you can't leave when all you really want to do is get off the stage.
Or if you're me and you just walked on and then you went to leave, but then discovered that the room is locked.
Oh no!
Oh God, help us!
We're arguing and this door is locked.
This metal wall wasn't in front of the door before.
What are these bricks doing behind this door? Curses!
Shit. Oh, transformative edits. What about like organic transformative edits? That's something that I've played around with a bit with Javelin and Presto Changeo. Pete, you and I have done that in our duo before too. Do you feel like that's something that's underutilized or that you enjoy?
Absolutely. Yeah, but again, I think it's you got to do it with a group that you play with a lot. Like it's the same thing with just walking down stage and initiating the new scene with the character that you want. Like it's a cooler, it's a flashier way of doing it, but everybody's got to be on board.
Yeah. It takes a little bit of at least declaring your intent to try it out.
Yeah.
Like to be like, all right, well, this is a thing that we're going to try now. And to clarify, transformative edits being like you take physical aspects of the show, the staging, and then physically, without changing anything about your position, transform into another scene right where you stand.
Right.
And you can do that
almost like it's
instantaneously.
transformative.
Yeah, you can do that instantaneously.
Like you're taking one thing
and transforming
it into another.
It's like if you're a truck, but then you become a robot.
A warrior robot.
A warrior robot.
And attach yourself to other warrior robots, and then you're in a new scene.
Yeah. About Power Rangers.
But there's also, so you can do that kind of like in the moment.
That I see that's the thing I see the least.
Yeah.
Is transformative edits. I usually
only
see that
for a minute. For a minute they were popular, and then
I usually only see them now like with the much more advanced groups at like Diff.
Yeah. That's where I first saw it, was from a team called Lorax out of I want to say Vancouver.
Hashtag Lorax.
Yeah. And it was these 3 guys that did this organic opener, and then all their scenes they would just kind of like do sound and motion kind of like growth from one thing into another. So I like the instantaneous ones, especially for like callback. If your goal is to keep, return to scenes, that's a really cool tool. It's like steal a line, but like steal a position.
Yeah.
For returning to scenes. But I also think it's cool to play around with like the organic stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It takes some. You got to be really curious about it.
Yeah.
To spend time on it,
But I mean, like everybody's got to be on the same page.
Yeah. You got to
like
have
if
strong
there's
initiations.
Yeah. If there's one person who's not. Yeah, Bob. No, go ahead, Bob.
I was going to talk, but this wall appeared. Oh no!
Oh no!
I'm locked in this soundless box. I'm sorry, I can't help you, Peter.
But no, yeah, like everybody's gonna be on the same page.
Strong initiation.
If you know what, motherfucker,
your initiation's gotta be strong.
Initiate this.
Yeah, we were doing a thing, Pete.
It's all about strong initiations, James.
Oh, I know it. we were doing a thing called story phasing, where we intended to have in our 2-person show somebody's going to start telling a story in the first scene, an anecdote. Like I was at the grocery store earlier. I guess we also played around with, like, it could be like a bedtime story or whatever. But somebody in some way is going to start telling a story in the scene, and then as you start telling the scene, you start acting out the story, and then you get into that story as your next scene.
Oh, that's cool.
We were doing it. You and I were doing it. Yeah.
You should try that. Pete, that sounds amazing.
I'm gonna give that a shot.
We used to do it when we were doing 6-chamber roulette. Yeah. You would have a source scene. Somebody in the scene would start telling a story. You would transform into that story, and then somebody in that story would start telling a story. And we would see how many layers we could get into it before we came back to the source scene.
This is so unrelated, and I don't know why this just popped into my head. James, do you remember the set you did with PJ, where you just told one story for 25 minutes?
Yes.
I don't know why. God. You told the setup for a joke for 25 minutes. It was magnificent.
Yeah,
that was pretty incredible.
That has nothing to do with editing. That just popped into my head.
And then it faded. That was great.
Yep. Yeah, I think we were detectives, and then I made an offhand reference to a joke, and I was, oh, you never heard it. And it's like the Aristocrats, where you tell the preamble, but I did that for the whole show. Yeah, it was like a 30-minute show.
After you did that, because there's a joke my dad told me that is specifically designed to see how long you can keep the person on the hook.
Yeah.
Before you tell the punchline, which the punchline is so not worth it, right, but it makes me laugh every time.
That's Aristocrats or like blue flower, blue rose. What the fuck is blue violet? I don't know.
But I remember that night you did that set, and we were hanging out at the bar afterwards, and I was talking to Eric, and I was like, yeah, that reminds me of this joke I used to tell people. You know, it's designed to see how long you can keep people on the hook. I'll do the short version of it. And I had him, I think I got him like 6 rounds of setup before he was finally like, oh, fuck you.
That's awesome.
So super related to editing.
Yeah.
Is really long extended stories that go on for the whole set.
Eric used the classic FU edit, which I don't see a lot.
That's true.
Do more of those.
What is it?
Just ending the scene with "Oh fuck you" and walking away.
Fuck you.
Oh fuck you.
That's hilarious. Okay,
lights.
Well, maybe this will be our last thing on the subject, but internal edits. Obviously, I feel like internal edits are something that you, for newer performers, you're like, leave it up to the back line to do the edits. If you're in the scene, your job is the scene. So don't edit the scene.
Newer improvisers, I always tell them, you improvise till someone else tells you to stop.
Yes.
Right. Till the wheels come off.
Yeah.
And then in things like duos and trios, anytime you have the whole group on stage,
well, yeah, you have to.
It becomes necessary. What about just in general? What are your feelings on, like, do you guys like to play with the option to internally edit? Like all things being equal, would you rather have that option or no?
I mean, only if it's like, whoa, we lost Bob.
I am the host now.
Oh God,
is what the notification says.
I would say I would only use it like if it's a group scene and there's no one else. I always prefer going until someone else edits me, unless it's a 2-person or a 3-person group. Because with like the smaller groups, you have to do the internal edit. But if it's a bigger group, I like leaving it up to the rest of the.
You don't need to be in that much control, like, and you don't need to be thinking about it if you got that many people watching your back.
Too. Oh,
did I?
We go. Yeah, you froze too for a second. I was like, what?
Done. Oh no. Speaking of internal edits, Bob edited himself out of the conversation.
It's pretty funny.
No, someone did that for me, so I didn't shut off the phone.
He
myself.
did a walk off, is what he did.
Yeah,
Zoom tagged your ass out.
I did a pop out.
Yeah. But anyway, so excuse the wonky edit, but we were talking about internal edits. And
what would make that edit really good? When you publish this, is a monster going across the screen going, "Rawr."
But I'm coming back with a strong initiation of saying,
You got to have a strong initiation.
Gotta have a strong.
Yeah. Man, now I'm going to try to find a way to do it. So if you're watching this and it didn't happen, I've let you down.
I'll find you a monster walking watermark. We'll make it work.
But I think the last word on it was just that I think internal edits are a cool opportunity, and again, I think that there's fun ways to play around with it. But by default, of course, you have the rest of the team to watch your back as you're playing, and that also takes a lot of the burden of keeping an overhead view on everything when you're playing with a group while you're in a scene too. So might as well leave it to the others.
I mean, that's why you have the other people there.
Yeah. The reason I play with other improvisers is so they can edit my scenes. This is my last thought on it. This is the last thought I'll ever have on it. But it does make me really want a troupe that does the robot chicken thing of just like making a point, or Gamatron to make a point to use all these different edits and all these different scene elements.
Didn't we do that with heavy meta?
We did. I don't think we did a lot of form stuff with heavy meta.
That was just like break every rule.
Heavy meta was, like you're encouraged to break character, break the fourth wall, and involve yourself as a player in addition to the character.
Again, it was bad improv, but it was a fun experiment.
It wasn't bad improv. It was meta improv.
That's the tagline for the poster. It's not bad improv.
Yeah.
It's
There's a guy going
with a thought bubble that says, "Is this meta?" Okay.
It's
Well,
a thought bubble with another thought bubble inside of it.
Ooh.
He's in a thought bubble.
Whoa.
You guys got any closing thoughts on edits?
Do them.
Yeah.
Do them. Use them.
Yeah.
Cut to the outro.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Improv FAQ at length. This episode's reached its conclusion, so we're going to cut it at this length. Thanks for joining, Pete Jacokes.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. This has been fun, if in no way constructive.
If in no way constructive, it's been enjoyable for us.
Yeah.
All right.
This video will get 3 views.
From each of us.